Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to our After Dinner Mint series titled Behind the Code. On the show, we welcome Artblocks artists to share a deeper look into their project's creative coding and process. Today, we welcome Anna Carreras, who joins us to speak about her project Trossets with collector aramunu. At the end of the show, we'll open the floor to questions that have been asked on the live YouTube page or Discord. How's it going?
Hey, good night. Well, good evening, good morning. I don't know where the audience is coming from or tuning from. For me, it's midnight, so good night for people around Europe, Central European time, more or less.
GM.
Yeah, starting with a GMGN, it's cool. It's like for the community.
I'll let you all take it from here.
Okay, may we start, Ramon?
Good. I'm excited.
Okay. Uh, so I will share my screen because this is about the code and the discoveries that are behind Trossets, which was a created project in our blog series 4. So in this between 1 and 8 series in our blogs that were created at that time, and I will show you some of the insights of how it was done, the project, and what makes it quite special. And we have Aramunu here, which is a collector with some sets and other amazing art box projects that was one of the collectors most interested in chasing animals intersets. We will talk about and we will show you that later, and I hope you enjoy. But this is about Trossets, which is this project that was released a little bit more than a year ago, and was about combining constructive blocks to build these or to generate these patterns, these still images, not animated patterns that use geometrical forms to build, but that have some more interesting things like that. Behind what's there, you can imagine there is a pattern there or a grid and a for loop, of course, a repetition, a loop that creates and adds new sets. Even while coding, I use Catalan words. So the title is in Catalan, my mother tongue, here in the corner of Spain that we use this Catalan language, and also it's in my code for variables and functions. So yeah, that's the idea. It makes easier to code because uh, use I don't use forbidden words that are in the library because they usually are in English. So when I use Catalan functions or variables, it makes me faster to code and easier for me. And these two sets use draw different parts, are draw using different parts, but they are always geometrically. They don't use. They only use arcs, circles, lines, and things like that. So yeah, you can see here some of the blocks with different palettes, of course, but color palettes. But these are the blocks that are mainly that are used for building the images into sets. Actually, they are 13 building blocks, 13, and these are them in different colors. But these are the building blocks that are building all the images that we you minted in intro sets last year. And yeah, it took me 4 months to decide which blocks were the building blocks to that then merge and overlap to build the Trossets final image. But at the end these ones were the more the ones that I selected because they have some characteristics that fit well with the overall idea of the project. And yeah, in the definition of the project, actually in the blockchain, it says that that Trossets uses 12 building blocks, and it's actually 13. But 13 is a bad luck number in Spain, so I didn't want it to that number in the blockchain forever, just in case that Trossets didn't had good luck. So I just mentioned 12 instead of 13 because we are quite superstitious here in Spain, and I wanted to maintain that for the project and to have good luck for it and for its entire life. So the idea is overlapping these 12, 13 actually building blocks, one with another, to build all the image that you have in Trossets. And here you have some examples. If we overlap the building block number 1 with number 2, or then number 1 with number 3, number 1 with number 4, number 1 with number 5, number 1 with number 6. Different things appear because they have a small overlapping area. So this means that things or different forms can emerge, and that was the idea behind Trossets. That using simple geometrical forms and building blocks, combining them and overlapping them, we can have really different forms and emerging forms that were not planned beforehand when working with the actual building blocks as the essence of the system. So yeah, using this yellow color palette called paella that we will see also later, you have more examples that how they overlap Trossets number 12 in the lower bottom part of the image, how block number 12 merges with block number 1, 12 with number 2, with number 3, with number 4. And even a collector that I cannot remember the name was sharing in our Discord channel, in our blog's Discord, this idea of playing around these images that you have there. This idea of playing with the building only two building blocks of the different color palettes to see what was behind of the basic and the essence of building Trossets. So yeah, that image it's from some collector that was playing around with the code on that time 1 year ago, and building the minimal combination of two blocks in the different color palettes to see how was the feeling and the essence of that colors and that building blocks. So at the end, we are Trossets builds these huge images. The blocks are overlap themselves, but they are arranged in a grid. The bigger one is this 6x3 grid where the blocks are arranged and make these huge Trossets, very neat, very clear, with the geometrical essence popping out. And then we have this second option of Trossets, which are more dense, more crowd, building a grid or arrange in a grid that it's 9x5, which is, as example, we have this Trosset 893. So there is more information going on here. And finally, in some cases, not so usual, so it's more rare, we have this arrangement of building blocks arranged in this 12x7 grid that makes Trossets more populated, more crowded, so more dots and geometry going on here. And this is something that some collectors prefer the big ones and some others prefer the intricated ones with a lot of details. You can see this going on in the code. this grid with the quantity of how we are going to build the grid, if it's a 12 by 7 or 6 by 3 or 9 by 5. So, and the probabilities of each one. So yeah, it was something that was intentionally built here to create this kind of double loop to create the grid and to add some variety in the Trossets generative outputs. So we can have bigger and smaller building blocks that can build several images that can go quite well together. There's also something going on in these grids, which is, as you can see here in an example, that maybe someone spotted here in the code before. See if you were following the or reading some lines of the code, is that this grid can be subdivided or broken again. So yeah, once we have this big grid of 6 by 3, then we can even break some of the building blocks, or some of the areas where a building block is going to be drawn can be also broken in smaller parts, giving these more smaller details that add some interesting small spots. So the big image and the big geometry, or the main geometry, is still there, but things broke here or there. So there are some details around that can be then in a second, in the, yeah, not in the first. When we look at the artwork, there's a main structure, but then something is broken, so it can gain the our attention to look at those details. So yeah, that was the idea, to broke some of these grids, to add even more randomly more interesting things going on here, and more interesting patterns that could emerge because are smaller and can add some details. So yeah, here also there's this Trosset number 78. It's a clear example of a 6 by 3 grid, where there's, and you if you are following, you guessed right that there is some spot there in the grid in the bottom part that it's breaked and makes this detail here that adds some smaller details and smaller building blocks that add something that can capture our attention or grab our more detailed attention after the first view of the structure. So that was also planned. In the code here also was introduced to add some smaller details that can add more geometrically interesting patterns, and smaller details that can be then explored by the audience and the collectors. So that was the idea, that say that there are true sets like this one that have a small probability of being broken, of the grid being broken, and there are some true sets, and this is a feature that appears there, that have a high probability to be broken in smaller parts. So you can see how, with the same colors and more or less the same structure, some of them, or the same building blocks, using the same building blocks, this Trousset 547 has some parts broken in smaller parts and using smaller building blocks, and this one has a lot of parts of the grid that were broken smaller, so adding more smaller details and smaller behaviors of the building blocks, building the true set. Yeah, and this yes, and we are there because this the building blocks, I'm talking all the time about these building blocks, but they are not used, all of them, the 13 of them, in all the true sets. It took me another 2 months more or less to choose which ones were the interesting ones to be there or not, and how they were combining, how they can combine to make interesting images. Some of them, of course, they surprised me while the minting process, after seeing the what came out of the minting process. But it took me a lot of time to debug and to test the different outputs and how could be these building blocks combined to create interesting things. It's obvious that Trossets that are vertical use between among the 13, in this case, this Trosset number 216 uses only one building block, which is the vertical one, this one that it's in red, highlighted in red in the bottom part of the image. And that was chosen on purpose to have some clear and neat outputs that can be there, which are also very rare, I should say. Of course, it's easy to understand as we are going deeper and deeper in the code and in the system that builds the Trossets, that in this case, this Trosset 747 is built using the Trosset highlighted here, which it's only or mainly an horizontal line with some dots going on there. But then there are some other Trossets which mixes some of the building blocks. Not all of them, not randomly. It was chosen on purpose. I was curating how they can merge to make interesting images for a lot of time, months. And this one, for example, it's called serps, which is snakes, because it makes it emerges this kind of forms that for me were suggesting snakes. And actually, I was not planning to draw snakes on purpose. It uses only these three blocks, building blocks that you can see in the bottom part of the image, and combining them in the grid that we saw before. You can now see how they are overlapping and mixing. So we have this kind of snakes that appear there, and of course I called this feature snakes one. So yeah. Um, so this is the part of the code where this magic happens, because it assigns which building block of these three is assigned in each position. And it's also something that happens randomly, so every true set will be unique and different. But I was curating which building blocks can build the different variations of true sets, and were um, not chosen without curation. It chooses randomly which of these three blocks uses, but it won't use, in this case for this true set, it won't use any of the other building blocks, because if not, every true set will use will use all of them, and the variety would be lost. So I was creating that to have a lot of variety there, and this is where the magic happens. And as in the code, as I was saying, and in Catalan, it's like assigning which number of true set between or among the possibles that can be chosen, not all of them. This is another case. This is an image to set 44 that it has this feature of being using only building blocks that it's called bastones, which are sticks, the Spanish sticks that are round and the elderly are using. And that reminded me these images. And it only uses these other three Trossets that you are seeing in the bottom part of the image. So some with horizontal lines with dots in the middle or not, and some curve and a building block with curves that that makes at the end these constructions. So yeah, that's the interesting part, that once we have these several combinations that were on purpose created to create these structures and let these structures emerge, depending on the palette, it's more evident. And as in this example here, where the green lines, the dark green makes this structure pops, and we have then this Ibiza palette that, on the contrary, maybe hides this structure because it's using for it this less dark blue or cyan color. So the red dots pop more here. So it was interesting also to see or to play with the color palettes to see that in some cases the structure is more hidden, and in some cases the structure is more revealed. And something that was not planned while playing with this is what you have probably see if you are in following us in the Discord. We were playing around, and Aramunu was a super chaser. That the something that makes these Trossets really special. It's that when they overlap, the building blocks use a lot of the background color, which is not so used in this kind of systems, of drawing systems. This idea of using the background was something that I was also investigating for a long time. And it was interesting because it make happen, it with this idea of using the background, something happened that, and the color palette, something happened that was not planned. That in the negative space, and when I say negative space, I mean the background color, they started to appear this kind of birds, little birds, ducks, and several different animals. Even in this one before, in the center there is a bird with a little, like feeding the little bird. We have some more here and another which is there. So in some of the most of the Trossets, if you can forget about the structure and the main image, and if you change your mind and you focus in the background and in the background color, you will find some birds tags and baby birds that here were found as by these collectors in their Trossets. So yeah, we started to Aramunu. You can comment on that if you want, because you were the one chasing all the animals, even in other collectors through sets. We then started to find some horses, not in the negative space. In this case, they were appearing in 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 the darker parts and the more structured parts. And even Aramunu, who is there, found a gonzo in some of the true sets there. And we were I think having a good time on Discord chasing animals. Like, okay, I started to see hidden horses or hidden elephants. We found, I think, some, I don't know, students or yeah.
It's mountains,
Yes,
angels.
yes,
You know, as a collector, we're in art blocks. We're always looking for the grails, right? Like, what are the grails of the set? So as we were kind of looking into your collection, hey, we see all this beautiful art. I think someone made a comment about an animal showing up. So first like a horse, and then a duck, and then birds kissing, and then one thing led to another. I just got
Yeah.
obsessed with looking for these in Trossets. And
Hmm.
out of nowhere, I saw Gonzo from Muppet Babies, and I was like, "This
Oh
is
yeah.
really embarrassing," but I'm gonna put it in the channel anyways. So that's where that came from.
Yes, it has been a nice time, and of course, you can imagine I never planned to draw birds or to draw horses there. So it was something that emerged totally from the system and how these building blocks are building the final image of each true set. It was not on purpose. This part was not code, so it's something that just emerged from the code and from the algorithm, and it was really fun to follow all the collectors chasing their animals there, in different true sets and different color styles. So we were sharing, and the I found the small horse in the corner of my number whatever, and it was quite funny. Yeah, we have lost the tradition. Maybe we can, Aramunu, we have
Yeah,
to
we gotta start
start
that.
finding, yes, to start finding animals again. So yeah, at the end, the color palette, it's also important because it makes more evident these animals or the structure of the palette, the hidden or the structure that is behind each one. And something that I think it was also interesting, or we were talking with Armunu, it's where these colors came from. And I took inspiration from the Mediterranean. I was trying to abstract my Mediterranean landscape and culture and traditions, and to make it geometrically and abstract to for you, for collectors and for the audience to enjoy or to grasp some of my culture and my surroundings. So yeah, I was sharing also in what, like 1 year ago, uh, where these color palettes came from. As you can see, it's like, okay, La Barca, which means the boat. It's inspired in these colors from small boats. Then it's Barraca that matches with that because it's the shelter with where we keep our boats safe in the coast. These end up with huge prints of these Trossets, but there's another color palette that it's bougainvillea, which is inspired by flowers that we have around, and I think you in the west coast, you also have them around, going over the fences in some parts of the coast. And there's no any special trick to create the palettes, like some artists, they use photos to pick the colors or to extract some colors from that photo and use as a base for the creations. In my case, it was just picking palettes that use colors that suggested me my landscape and my culture and the Mediterranean part, but even the olive trees that we have in Spain and some food that we have here, which is part also of my background and culture, like paellas and tortilla, which made another palette. But not specifically. I took photos to extract the colors that went to the color palette. It's more the way around. It was something that reminded me of that, and then I took some photos to share with you, with collectors and the community, to share that these were inspired by this yeah, this environment, this background that I have, my culture, my landscape, and what I'm influenced by. And at the same time, like sharing which kind of paellas are the real ones and which are the fake ones that you can find around in Spain also. So it was having fun, and showing, oh, this is a big tortilla Trossets that went for United States like some months ago. And in this occasion, to show the collectors and the people that it's following us on YouTube, I wanted to share some new ones, inspiration. This palette, it's called Mallorca, and these are photos taken in Mallorca some years ago when I was traveling there before the pandemics, which you can see it's not actually that I pick the colors from the photos to create the color palette, but it's something like, okay, Mallorca for me it's green, but there are some red spots maybe in the buildings, old buildings, or in the sunset. So it's always something that counterbalances the main colors. This is Baget, which is an old small village toward the Pyrenees, the highest mountains that we have here. And it's also something like, okay, for me this is really green with dark stone. And this color palette, it's called Altafulla. It's another village, an old one towards the beach. This one is towards the beach, not in the mountains. And you can see that for me it's something like, okay, the building has for me this flavor of terracotta, of these colors which are sandy colors, but stone colors, and with some grasp of green, because we have this kind of I don't know how do you call it in English, but we use this for to hide, to make shadow, yeah, shade for summer and keep the houses cold. So we have this. It uses this counterbalance of green, but following this kind of terracotta and of sandy colors. So yeah, I think. Oh, and I don't know if there are questions or things, but I have some more inspirations or related projects that I can share with you. I don't know if are we okay in time? Yeah, can I share some?
I think we are.
Super,
Yeah, you're
because
doing great.
yeah, then I will share a lot of references. This is an open processing sketch that is a typical Truche tiles, multi-scale tiles. Trossets, which it's my Catalan name for pieces. It's quite similar to Truche in French, and I use that name on purpose because it's inspired and based on this well-known homage to this algorithm. But usually, as you can see here, it uses only two colors, but you can spot some of the curves and the emerging forms and geometrical forms that can be more or less found in true sets also. But it usually uses two colors, so we have this kind of tiles. And then I found someone that was also inspired by physical artifacts of letter presses that found, and it's like, okay, maybe there's something physical behind this algorithm that inspired it, and it's this kind of metallic letter press that we can build in with using these blocks also to create new patterns. So yeah, the same author as before, or a fork of that code, created this just a structure, diagonal structure, which is not arranged in a grid. It only uses another kind of grid. I found also interesting that there's people exploring how to merge or use triangular blocks instead of square ones, so different things can emerge, even using some circular patterns to create that. But as you can see, usually we use the algorithm or the Trossets, the original Trossets uses only two colors. So it's something that makes these kind of building blocks and shapes that using two colors, which are really distinguishable. And some people has added some more details on it. So what's about if I, instead of drawing only the block, I draw it with several lines and things like this can happen. And then here there's something by Andreas Strauss that uses Plotter Twitter and that plots it, that has again the flavor of Trossets, but it's always like usually people adds on it, and we have Raven Cat, Red Down Cat, that it's the master of adding lines and lines to these building blocks to create this series of pop 70s and 80s, which adds more and more and more lines to this, which is this idea here using hexagonal tiles. And or the last project is by Schambler, which took the also the building blocks that create his own one with the Liba project in our blogs that was released some months ago, which also takes it into his own direction. What I wanted to say and show you is that Trossets, on the contrary of adding a lot of lines to create the or to play with the building blocks, what made Trossets quite unique it's that I took the opposite approach. That it was like giving more. Giving more importance to the background color and not using a lot of lines, instead of that making it very clean and very geometrical. So it's easy to recognize the grid and to see the geometry that it's behind that, and to understand at the first glance the geometry. But then always there are things behind that, smaller parts breaking there with the smaller details, or the emerging animals in the background and the negative space that appeared, like the birds here that I spot super fast. So the approach was, and what makes special Trossets is that it took the opposite approach that usually it's taken with multi-Trossets tiles, which was giving importance to the background color and to the negative space to create, to make more clear and geometrical patterns that can be more, I don't know, more outstanding and more, I don't know, appealing to, or more original, let's say. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. I think that's it. That's it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I,
that was awesome, Anna. I guess
okay.
one
Okay.
question that I have, right? Like one
Yeah.
thing I really appreciate about your work is your ability to look at this beautiful and colorful world and turn it into the art that you have, right? So a question that I have is, okay, when you see these beautiful palettes in the world, right? So the pictures on the right, how does that become code, right? Like, do you have like color choices that you have that you pick from? Do you put it through some program? What's that like?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I don't use code. I have been curating for years some color palettes that I like, and after releasing True Sets, it was like, yeah, I've been curating these colors. Sometimes at the beginning, I used colors to used some code to pick colors from photographs, but it was just at the beginning. At the end, I was just creating palettes that with colors that I choose, or that I think that combine well. And it was after releasing True Sets that I realized, yeah, but these colors are coming or suggest me my surroundings. Maybe not my hometown, but something that I have visited, which is not far from Barcelona, which is in the Mediterranean, or maybe 2 years ago I was visiting the islands in Mallorca or in Ibiza, and then that dark colors and cyan colors of the island and the night of the island just end up with being a color palette. So actually, I started to look at my photographs and mix them with the palettes to let or to share with collectors and with you. That my inspiration comes from my surroundings and my culture, but it's not coming from any algorithm. No,
Mm,
I'm sorry about that. That
yeah.
doesn't come from code.
Got it. Got it. Um,
Yeah.
Another question I had is going back to the kind of the building blocks
Mm-hmm.
of the project, right? So that 12 that you mentioned,
Yeah.
how does that come about? Right? Like are those 12 building blocks, do they come from something else? Did you make them up? Like how did these 12 come about?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, you see, some of them are the like the symmetric. The like number one and number two are symmetric. Yeah, just they have an intention to one direction and then to the other. um, I was playing around with the Trossets algorithm before ending up with Trossets like months before, and I was playing with the blogs. And there's also always like a starting point that you can see here in the. Do you see my mouse?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
perfect. Because in this block here, you see that there's always this up, bottom, left, and right part or dots. And then from these four dots, you start like, okay, you connect from the bottom dots, you can connect two of them and leave the other two there, or you can leave two and connect there the lower one and the upper part, or you can connect the four dots with a curved line or with the straight lines, and then you have another block. And then you can add something here, some details of other colors or not. So I was playing around that and using just not a lot of details and letting it breathe a lot. So there's nothing here in the other corner, just these 4 points, and then how to use them. There were more blocks that were discarded and didn't make the cut because they were not combining well with the others and were not leaving so clear the resulting image of generated by the system. So I was playing at the beginning with four of them, then I explored more, and at the end I decided to add these small red dots here because, or these ones which are quite special because they add some flavor to the ending image, and sometimes they are just overlapped by the previous or the next building block, so they disappear, and that gave some interesting results. But yeah, the starting one is this one. I need a
Yeah.
this full
Would it
this
be
one.
possible to show in the code just like one example of this block? Maybe for like
Oh,
aspiring coders, like what might a building block look like?
okay, a ver. With this blog, I don't know. I have the code prepared.
Okay, sorry for putting you on the
No,
spot.
no, no, it's okay. I have the code prepared just in case you were
Yeah.
asking about something, but I don't know if I can show
Question.
this exact block, but I will try. The
Mm,
idea behind Trossets also is that it doesn't use any library. All the code it's from scratch. I code from scratch. Oh, my computer is getting freeze. A ver, Oh, Anna. Um, Now, I code everything from scratch, so I'm not using libraries. I'm not using shaders because I'm quite worried to make these works available on most of the browsers of the future, and in different computers. So yeah, here are the possible blocks that we can use, and then the parts is like we're separated in like, okay, we are using, these are the arcs in the east part, uh, or in the right part of the image, and in the left part goes for right and left in Catalan. So it's making these arcs. This is the horizontal line. So if the building block has an horizontal line, with use this line here with this stroke color. Then there are vertical lines here, and there you can see there's another line, and that one is the 4 points, if I can find or I remember well. A ver, for this one, you are the 4 circles that you have seen in the main building block. So it's like, okay, circle, 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 and circle, nothing else. That's it. These are these 4. The central one, I think it's something like puns, something like this one, or something like this. And then the connections here will be something that it's drawn in this arcs part here, like this is some background or half of the background, which uses some. So yeah, this is just using them and creating, yeah, like I was playing all the time with this, like, okay, let's see what happens here.
That's
And
that you're showing us this. I see Fernando Jerez in the chat has a question for you. So he said,
okay,
do,
I will stop sharing the screen then.
"Oh
Is that
no, no,
okay?
that's fine. No, no, keep
Oh,
showing." But he
keep showing.
did
Okay.
you still use processing for sketching or experimenting, and then port it to JavaScript?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the answer is yes. Yes.
Mm.
And because I'm super fast sketching with processing, I've been coding with processing for, I don't know, 17 or 18 years. I also teach processing and creative coding and generative art to students. So I'm really fast. And sketching in processing, being that fast, gives me the ability to like create an idea that I have on my mind, and see what happens, change it, or just put it, throw it to the garbage, whatever. So it gives me the ability to go really, really fast, and follow the ideas, and don't lose track of what in my creative process. And that's why I'm using processing and then translating it to JavaScript. Yes, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know how we. Yeah, because I don't know how other artists do, but yeah, the creative process of each one of us, it's quite peculiar or particular. Yeah, good question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fernando also said that that's what he does. But for the maybe less technical viewers, to be clear, that program that you just showed us is processing code. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes, that is
Okay,
correct.
got it. And then
Yes.
when you convert it to JavaScript, is there
Yes.
like a button that you press? Like what's that like? Do you have to rewrite the code?
No, it's like I don't know. It's like you have to translate it. It's like if you um, write in, I don't know, in English, and you translate to, I don't know, to Australian, I don't know, or to something similar, but that it's not exactly the same. So once we know how to code, usually it's not that complicated to translate into another coding language. And the differences between processing JavaScript are very few, so we can translate things quite easily and fast. So I sketch fast with processing, and once the project is there, then I end up like you can see all my process here. I create a lot of tests, and I end at like I think in some moment I translated the system. This is Trossets in JavaScript, and I can show them. But
Is it
I
easy to run that program?
sorry.
Is it easy to run the program and see output? I'm kind of curious. Is it possible? I'm kind of putting you under the gun here, but
No, it's
is it
okay.
possible to see some random output that we haven't like seen before, like in a grid size we've never seen before, in a palette?
Yes.
This is unscripted. That's
A palette that was not there. Yeah, maybe. You can see that it's quite similar because we have here at the beginning the colors. Then here we had the possibilities, which are also here. And then, like, okay, I've shown you. I don't know. This is the I've shown you this part when the two loops are creating the grid, and these they can be subdivided again, and the when we assign which to set. So it's really similar, and it's not that complicated to translate. And these are the parts that I was showing you, like, okay, we're using circles and arcs and some lines. So yeah, it's not that different. And yeah, showing something new. Let's see. I can, a ver, I don't know, because this is quite, I can show you some of the, because I was
oh,
capturing all the process.
oh
I
yeah. If you
can
have some
show
secret
you.
ones,
Sorry?
if you already have some secret ones, this is for all the collectors out there to feel really jealous that they don't get these Grail outputs.
Okay, I can show you, a ver, I can show you some of the uh, when I was working on diversity, I was just using one palette. A ver, let's see, I don't remember. No, I no. Sorry, a ver, some some colors that didn't make the cut, like for this one that was for the mountains or the Pyrenees, but didn't make the cut to the final two
Mm,
sets because it was too dark for me. It was
yeah,
not interesting.
yeah.
So yeah, some of the I don't know, some
We
more
put some owls in that dark output. You know, owls,
some
owls.
see
I'm already,
you
yeah,
you
it,
are the one checking all the animals.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
here there are owls.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Bachman is probably very jealous because there's not a black and white that he could put in his collection. But I already kind of see like little owls hidden under there with the eyes
Okay,
just like
not in
blinking.
this one. Yeah.
Yeah,
You are the one finding the things in the background instead in the foreground, so that's quite cool. Yeah. Or we have the students here, or I don't know. Yeah. So as you can see, I was running a lot and taking a lot of screenshots to then being able to curate and to work on that. So yeah, some of them didn't make the cut. So yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. That's it. No say.
okay. No, that was awesome. Now it could be said that I can have an owl in my collection.
Yes, you could have an owl, a duck, a little bird, and an owl. Sorry about that. I
No, no, it's
didn't
all
make the
good.
cut.
It's so good. I definitely, I think I speak for the collectors and the community when we say this is awesome. Just to have a look, and I've loved Trossets or Trossets for such a long time. It's so awesome to have a deeper look and understand like what goes into a project. I know it's like 12:55 a.m. where you are. Also, I could go on all night, but just also respect you spending so much time with us. It's really amazing.
No, it was a pleasure, of course.
No, I love this format too. Aramunu, with you asking questions at the end. I thought that was really, really amazing. And I know viewers today really enjoyed it, and those in the future are really going to enjoy it as well. I want to say thank you, Anna and Aramunu, for speaking on Trossets.
Yes, thank you, Armuno. It was nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for letting me hang around and ask questions. It's a great day.
Awesome. Till next time, be great and happy minting.
Bye.
See y'all.
Bye, adiós. Adiós.